and good day. This is me biting the bullet and just going for it. I have prepped notes. I have monkey brained it, rolled it over in my mind. Yeah, it's been an interesting several weeks, several months, depending on, pardon me, how you really want to take the time frame window into account. And I read several books at a time. Oftentimes it's something, very esoteric and like kind of heady, something very out there to expand, to just get any kind of theories and thoughts and critical think and be like, how does this make me feel as a as an omnist, truth in all things, just not all things are true. What comes across my feed makes my heart sing. That's something that I personally feel that I like to help, those that I interact with. It's like, let your freak flag fly. I know what makes me tick, in certain ways. Like as you develop in life, it's hopefully you're gaining that introspection, but there's certain stages in your life that, because of the life that you live, you have certain happenings. So I can really kind of ground you into it all, like the Hermetic beliefs, as above, so below. So I was actually talking about this today with a client, and so you have 29 and a half to 31 years of Saturn, about an average of 30 years, as they say, for a Saturn return. And so you've got to think about how you were in your 20s and then going into your 30s, if you have reached those points yet, and how your mental change was in between that. So you have that point. Then you have Uranus, right? Because Saturn was the last of that Hermetic seven, what you could see with your naked eye. And then in like 1781, telescopes, Uranus was discovered, and then broke the mold, originality, revolution, eccentricity, things that Uranus deals with. Now there's more to the universe, and then we have Neptune and then Pluto, whether you've downgraded it or not. Astrology, Pluto means something. If you really wanted to get into it, the asteroids and planetoids and everything, like those have associations. Like you can get real fine, like you can really find yourself going down rabbit holes into how meticulous you wanted to get. And I feel like that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And I've been away from social media for quite a while. I went into like hermit reverse, real kind of isolation, kind of held up in myself because of trying to get on social media, and my personal feelings and how I was viewing, how I was feeling, how I was thinking, the gut feeling. So, and the first feeling that I was talking about is I wanted to bring into like water, and then the gut feeling that I'm thinking about as far as, like the fire that's within the cauldron. I really wanted to take a call to, as part of my notes, I wanted to take a call to the four worlds aspect, and, fire, water, air, earth. And I love tarot. Ever since I found it, I just the approach that my personal path has brought me on. I find it as a map of creation, and as the hero's journey, as the trajectory of life. I find it a beautiful story, And as story time, it's like these are these archetypes that you could just flip out and make a story. And as the major arcana, right, that soul's progression, that wheel. And then the minor arcana, these worlds that you go down in Jacob's ladder approach, tree of life, if I remember correctly, Absoluth, Bria, Yetzira, and then Asiya, going down those Kabbalah, and I have been really drawn to the esoteric like my whole life. I've always loved, the different dark findings that are there, just because they're dark, just because nobody is shining a light on them, and it's nothing evil, it's nothing bad, it's just, history is written by the winner. And when the winner says, these are the demons, these are the bad guys, these snakes, you start to view the serpent in a certain light. But when you have record of millennia ago, of the snake, of the serpent being viewed completely differently, being revered for the wisdom, for the maturation, for the guidance, the masculinity and femininity mixed together. I mean, there's just, depending on what culture you're looking at, whether it be a plumed serpent like Quetzalcoatl, and not even going to go into other examples, but it just finding my way here onto being vulnerable in front of an audience again. When I was in the military, my last several years as in the Marines, I was an instructor, and but you get used to, though we're of the same culture, but putting yourself on social media, it's a whole different vulnerability that's out there. And even though I have been doing, my daily pulls, which, I have 3 oracle cards, 4 tarot cards, and a rune that I pull a day, that I pick a day. And they all have different rituals and different, all of this that I've done. Some of it, like, a tarot deck has been recently introduced. My newest one is the Cosmovisions. And so, anywhere from just several weeks to several years have I been doing like the same thing, and I've been putting in the work and I've been putting in the time. But now looking back at it, because of this, I became repetitive. I was just doing it. I was going through the motions. I wasn't giving it the full reverence that I should have been, and that I started with, and that I now feel that I'm back to. I was all in that fire, all up in that first world, and I was just about that passion. And you'll find for Patch Tarot, the one that I use for like my professional readings and stuff, it's my main deck as far as tarot. 9 of Wands is my wolf, my chosen right, sacred animal. And 9 of Wands is endurance for its upright keyword. And so it's one of those things where it's just like, sometimes it's trudgery. You can't have a trough without understanding the crest, right? So sometimes you're just going through the motions and you're just trudging through. Every day is a fucking step. It's another monumental task to wake up and be like, 6 feet up, like, I woke up alive, If I go to bed alive, hoorah, like every day above ground's a good day. And sometimes that's all you got, but then other days you're fucking on top of the world. And and it's not to say one's good or bad, right? If you have that waveform of emotions, that full 360 degrees, it's just a shift in perspective that you'll see it's 360. Try to make a more perfect circle. Beautiful band, by the way. It's still 360 degrees, but that sine wave and that circle is a spiral. Combining those two, it's that sinusoidal wave that's actually, depending on how you look at it, it's a shift in perspective. And that line, no matter what, birth date to death date, that line that is on your gravestone, once you leave and your remains are there, that's your life. Beginning, end, that line, everything in between, because it's like, you look at the horizon and it's that line, but then as you get closer, you see that there's so much more detail. So, all of this could be someone's life, and then like as you look at it, it's all that jumble happened at once, and that's 7 years old and they're gone. Or it could be a really long extended life, and hey, that 90-year-old is live and kicking and still has some time to go, in order to finish and complete their journey. All the things that happen for a reason. Each life is precious and each day is precious, and you don't really know what is going to come around next. And so that's why each moment is, exact. If you look at it on a mathematical scale, if we're going to time certain things and agree, this is going to be this point, and this is going to be this point, and this is going to be this point, and it takes this amount of time to get to A, all the way through, then stick to your guns all the way through. And something that's really some of the newest development that's come across, like I have, Vedic Astrology by Mary Silva, and then Astrology of the 13 Signs of the Zodiac by Vasilis Kanatas. Extremely interesting. And again, omnius, truth in all things, not all things are true. So you have to be like, okay, well, so I see your perspective and why you're doing this, because in Vedic astrology, they have, as of 2010, 24 degrees difference between tropical and Western astrology and Vedic or sidereal astrology. But Vasilis, in his book, goes back to, so instead of 285 CE, Common Era, with Vedic astrology, Vasilis goes back to 83 BCE and gives us a 29.2 degree difference as of 2011. And where I'm going with this is, when you just Google anything astrology here in the West, you'll get, more often than not, tropical Western astrology. It says that on the 21st of March 21st of every year in the northern hemisphere is the vernal equinox. That is the first day of Aries. It's a cycle. It's a never-ending circle that is just going to be. But then once you break out of tropical Western astrology, and where I went was to Vedic first, because I went to Indian astrology, found out that they're, north, south, east, and west Indian, they have different views I learned about Rahu and Ketu. It's extremely interesting learning about the different nakshatras and the different lunar mansions. Because there's a whole different reality that didn't come from ancient Greece and everything that came about from Babylon, Sumer, the Assyrians. All of this stems back to it, because with this latest book, you'll find that all the way back 5,000 years ago, 2,500 BCE, was, they knew about Ophiuchus. They knew about the 13th sign, the serpent bearer, and everything, registered before, taken from mythological accounts or just, stories of their time. Lunar worship, it was femininity. It was the 13 signs on the solar ecliptic. So Ophiuchus, think of like a yin yang symbol. Scorpio and Ophiuchus take up like the same kind of territory in the sky. And Ophiuchus actually is more degrees of that part of the sky than Scorpio is. And another big change that really, to me, rocked my world, because sidereal astrology was like, hey, Aries through Pisces is still Aries through Pisces. First house through the 12th house is still those. Nothing's changed. The only difference is that it's been shifted back. The 24 degrees, 24.07 degrees, and so that would give you like a 1 degree sign, or not a 1 degree sign, but a 1 sign shift, right? So I was born May 12th of 86. My whole life I thought that my sun sign was Taurus. Turned out that it was Aries in all actuality, because, well, according to Sidereal. And this is where I'm in my experiment mode, and where I'm in my critical thinking, because when I look at my sidereal astrology, it shifts back that 24 degrees and it puts my sun sign in Aries. I've since then not taken so much into my sign. I've learned to look at the ascendant, the moon and sun at the same time. Like, as they say, 2 sides of the coin. Incorrect. It's 3 sides to the coin, because you have this side, that side, and then what you're actually walking. And if your sun sign, if the sun stays in a sign for 30 days, pretty much like mid-month to mid-month, you have that into account. The moon changes every 2.5 days, and your ascendant changes every 2.5 hours. So in order to get somebody more kind of like personality kind of pinpoint, you want to look at ascendant, moon, sun as the coin. Like it is a coin. And the analogy that I used is, here in Australia, the 50-cent piece is large, many-sided, and that's just the first thing that came into my mind, in difference to, and I can't remember the name of the Chinese piece that they use for like luck and fortune during like the Chinese New Year, where it's circular and then there's a square that's cut out, and then there's characters on all sides, and all I really wanted for the analogy was just the difference of the 2 pieces, is that, I am a coin and you are a coin, and our coins differ. Some coins are quite similar. If you were to take the 50-cent piece, year to year, special things, this, that, and the other, like, it still may look the same, but it still has its differences, and on and on and on, in separate infinities sort of thing. But what I wanted to go into is that it's not just that shift of the degree change that's making us, fit into like a different kind of coin slot. What was really pointed out with the 13th sign is, mainly the 13th sign, and on top of that, the next big exposure was that not every constellation is the same size. So Virgo and Pisces are much larger than oh shit, where do I want to go with that? Scorpio and Ophiuchus. You know, the dispute, because you've got Scorpio and Sagittarius, they run up together, and then right in between that, you split that, and you've got Ophiuchus. And so, because Ophiuchus actually takes up more space in the sky than Scorpio, it has a higher degree, or a much wider degree on that on the chart, on your natal chart. Archaics, I believe is what it's called. Don't quote me on that. For whatever reason, that came to my mind. But when you see it, you'll see that that Aries is much smaller than Taurus. Because not everything is 30 degrees. So with this true sign, with the 13th sign true sidereal astrology that I'm now introduced to, that's what I'm studying more and more, and connecting that with just regular sidereal astrology, because I find that if we're trying to be truthful, if we're trying to find like our true knowledge and have our spirit and have our science, and postpone this, put a pin in it, and this guy Vasilis from this book, he's coming at it from like an astronomer's perspective, and he's like, all right, so look, the ecliptic that's coming around, like this is what's actually in the sky. Here's our middle point of this. Here's the edge points that we're gonna call. We're gonna do our 360 degrees around this celestial equator, and we're gonna mark it out. And each sign is going to be, these are the traits that's of it. This is where he and I differ, because he is going about like, hey, now that the signs differ, we're going to put, say like with true sidereal 13 sign astrology, March 21st, as of right now, 2022, going into 2023, that sign will still rise in Pisces. Note that, okay? Pisces is, I think, the largest, and so we're still in the sign of Pisces. We're not even yet in Aquarius, like the whole age of Aquarius, that wobble that we're talking about with the precession of the equinoxes, that has this difference between tropical Western astrology, Vedic astrology, sidereal astrology, true sidereal astrology, 13 sign. All these differences that people are looking at, it's because of that wobble, right? But then it's also, this guy is really the first one that I'm coming across that's saying also that the signs, the constellations are bigger and smaller. They each have a varying size, that not all of them are even close to 30 degrees. So, I still may be sun sign Aries with this, but then like I've also have been looking into gene keys and human design, which are both founded, and you have to do tropical Western astrology with that. I've since then been able to find some technology and some online stuff that will help shift over to this 13 sign true sidereal astrology, as well as sidereal. I've been looking at all the different various printouts and cross-referencing them and seeing exactly what is different. Not much has changed on like my human design body graphs from sidereal astrology to true sidereal 13 sign Canitas. It's got its own little subsection that's in there, because it's valid, it's recognized, and it comes at it in this scientific approach of, when you look in the sky, this is what is actually on your fucking paper. Like, we cannot dispute that. We have to be able to take, some people say like this spiritual mumbo jumbo, and it's take the the tradition, take that passion and that emotion and that thought and that feeling and bring it forth, but also, be aware and cognizant of the technological updates since 1781 when Uranus was founded. Like, not all people throughout take into account anything that they can't physically see with their eyes. Some Indian astrology, some Vedic astrology, but in that account, it's also, why are you going to try and enforce this fabrication of tropical Western astrology that it's going to be Aries in March 21st of the Northern Hemisphere vernal equinox every single year, when, according to one person, it was 285 CE, Common Era, or the other person is 83 BCE. So we have 24 degrees or 29.21 degrees as of 2010, 2011, as a difference change, which I figured it up. And as of 2076, since I was born in 1986, I'll be 90 years old. And that will be, and taking that, all right, so where I went with all of this, the 72 years for every 1 degree, it'll be 30 degrees difference between tropical Western astrology and 13 sign True Sidereal astrology at that point in 2076, which means that for those that are still doing the tropical Western astrology, that anytime after 2076, they'll be up to 2 signs off. So instead of everything rising, to them, in Aries, it would be in Aquarius. But looking at it in that aspect, well, if you actually, yeah, it would be 2 signs off, because anything after that, because it's 29 degrees 59 minutes 59 seconds, so anything that is officially 30, would be technically 0 like 0 degrees 0 minutes 0 seconds going into 1 seconds. And it's about that precision. It's we have computers now, and everything has been nice and beautiful with the masculinity and the 12 signs, forever. But the 13 sign femininity that's been in the dark and has been bastardized and has been hated against and, been made as the enemy, that everything 13 looked down upon. That is what has been, fueling me back into this, because I don't think that actually, this is my long way approach, I don't actually think that I got to it earlier. So I've been doing all of my daily pulls for weeks to years, writing them down, taking a catalog, catalog, writing it down day by day. Every so often I would miss a day or so, like if we did a camping trip and I thought ahead and I was like, okay, well, if I don't want to pull extra cards, I can just take this, I'll work on this throughout the whole weekend, but I don't want to have to, just in case I don't want to ruin my cards, I didn't want to take them with me. But then there would be times here or there that I got burned out, for whatever reason. At the time, I do remember a couple of times, because every day I would do 22 push-ups, and then for 22 lives lost, military. I got your 666. So I'd do my 22 push-ups, and then I'd pull 1 oracle card, and then I would do 13 squats, and then do a set of dips. Once I get my dip bar, so I was doing physical activity, and I was facing to the east, and then I'd face to the north, and then I would do another set of 22 push-ups, and I would pull my second oracle card, and then I would do a set of 13 squats, and I would do my dips once I got my dip bar, and then I would pull the rest of the cards, and then the rune, and and I kept it at that, and I would just do east and then north, because I'm here in Western Australia at the time, and so doing north and east, that's to all of my folks that are in the United States. Sending my love, sending my attention, sending I'm putting forth my physical energy to try and get my emotions and my character, my spiritual side, get those three sides to the warrior's ethos, get that filled in. And so if I could put my body through some pain while doing a spiritual exercise, and pulling the cards, because I would do my push-ups over the cards, and I would do my squats in front of the cards, and I would do my physical movements and put myself through pain, because some of my men and women can't anymore. And if I can put myself through pain so that those won't, if they have that split second and they take their finger off the trigger, that's me taking that pain and just enough to have them fucking pull back. I can take control of that trigger finger, and I can pull it back, and I can be like, hey man, it's okay. Take another fucking day on me. And then I would hold the cards to my heart, and I would feel my heartbeat through the cards, and just trying to clear my mind, and come into the heart. And then I would each deck has a certain shuffle that I'll do, and I did that forever, forever. I did that for a long time, weeks, months, years, and I would always try to get more. The goal was 220 push-ups a day. So that's 5 sets of 44 or 10 sets of 22. Because a Marine Corps count is 2. So if you did 22 Marine Corps count push-ups, you did 44 push-ups. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3. You get it. And so it was to try and get 222 a day, and in each set of 22, I would face a different direction. East, north, west, south. Because being in the southern hemisphere, the equator is that fire, edging everything towards that ring of fire. So it would be, I believe, air in the east, fire in the north, water in the west, and earth in the south, because we're closest to Antarctica down here. And so things elemental are only slightly different than in the northern hemisphere. And so that's how I would do my exercises and do my push-ups, and just try to give a little bit of energy to each of the elements, and just kind of flesh out that esoterica, do whatever. And I ended up getting burnt out of that, because even a set of 22 push-ups hurts. It's hard to get down, it's hard to get up, depending on how I do it, whether it's like I try to do the dive bombers, if I'm doing wide grip, if I try to do diamonds. Some days there's I could only do them on my knees. I'm a 80% disabled vet. It's hard to move, but I just gotta breathe through the pain, because sometimes, putting my head between my knees to try to bend forward and touch my toes. Some of my boys don't have toes, and if I can go in, breathe through the pain. Pain lets you know that you're alive. And I got toes to touch, I got fingers to touch, and even though they're numb sometimes, I still do it, and so I got out of my physical routine, a bit ago, and I've just recently got back into my push-ups, and got to add the squats back in, and I pedal bike to work, so my legs get a workout, my heart gets a workout, but my physical body is morphing. It's some pain starting to set in, so I'm trying to get a little bit more active, and this, that, and the other. But I felt on this last bit, this last burnout. Um, it's because I got on social media. I did cards, charts. Let's talk about Norse runes. Because that's my daily pull. I do one thing for myself, and I have 3 posts. I could do a morning, an afternoon, and an evening. And if that was just my day, that would be fine. But I find it tedious because, um, because I was pushing too hard. I was forcing something of myself that I wasn't ready for. And I burned myself out. And I tried for I think like 2 or 3 weeks, and just forcing myself to do it, because I was like, all right, if I work hard, if I force myself to do it, then I'll blaze a path. I will, I'll form a habit, and I can get into this. And even though I took the time ahead of time to do hashtag blocks, so that I could copy and paste, and I could do this and try and find a format so that I could copy and paste on like a weekly schedule, daily cycle. I tried it to be easier. I did voice to text so that I could talk about the things real quick, but everything just seemed to be so long. And because I put myself out there in that vulnerability, it wasn't something that I was ready for. That lack of like button. It was. I saw myself, because once I stopped, I burned myself out, and I just stayed in absolute. I never. I didn't get into the deeper worlds. Bria is the next one. It's your water, it's your emotion. So that's your dreams, your creativity, the feeling, the emotion of it all. Yes, the fire may be the spark, and that may be the passion and it burning and whatnot. But in the cauldron, in your willpower, in your solar plexus, is water. And you've got to be able to not burn that water out, without being able to replace the water and top up every now and again. Feel into the emotions, and fill your emotions, and keep that topped up. It was just an empty cauldron. And finally, that motherfucker cracked. Fire went out, and I felt guilty, frustrated at myself, at my ego, because I've been doing this for weeks to years, depending on what deck, what room, and everything that you want to talk about. And I've been doing it for myself, and I've been doing it in private, and it's been fine, and it's been all right. But then I put it out on a social media platform that I kind of despise, because I found, up until this point, I found myself, once I got on different I was just scrolling, and just mindless content, and at the time I felt justified, because I'd curtailed what I was seeing, and into more higher vibrational frequency categories. I wasn't watching bum fights anymore. I was, and I'm speaking about like late teens, early 20s military stuff, like 36. I'm not 26. I'm not 20. I'm not active duty. I'm in a completely different heart space and head space than I was when I was active duty military. And I'm appreciative of that. I really am. The journey that I have gone on up until this point, the road that I've walked, has been immense for me. And so finding myself feeling guilty for being trapped in a spiritual ego, was very disconcerting. because I'd been doing my thing forever to me, and then all of a sudden I put it out there because now it's like, well, hey, like, this is what Storytime's doing. Everybody come see. Why is nobody liking it? Why is nobody commenting? And why is nobody sharing? And because nobody gives a fuck. It's not for them. It's for me. I got so wrapped up in it, and so like I this whole time I've been feeling into it, and I've been going through Bria, and I dropped into Yetzirah, which is the mind, which is, so in tarot that's the sword, but what, and little knowledge bomb for those that have made it over 40 fucking minutes. I can't believe 40 minutes. Hey, welcome to story time. So the tarot deck that I'm working on, the pen is mightier than the sword, as they say, and going back into like quill, so feathers, trying to raise the vibration out of our immediate response to be a reaction, and to be a deathly stroke, to be a biting sword's edge, to cut, to pierce, to stab, to wound. Let's rise above that and be. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. So it's only someone, I feel, that is been able to take it to that point and not have to use it, and be like, I think where I was going with it earlier with the sine waves in the circle 360 degrees is, it's not to say it's good or bad, that it's an up or a down. It's, what's the size of that circle? What's the size of the wave? Pardon me, because when you look at it, at that point, it's center to intensity. How intense is the emotion? You can't understand joy and bliss without despair and wrath, and if you're just midline, just meh, you're good as meh and you're bad as meh, how's your day? Oh, meh, like meh, it is what it is. That's just middle of the road, and that's okay. That's centered, like it's non-reactive, it's contemplative, sometimes you have to be there in order to get from here to here. You got to be here. It's all these dots along the way. It's each moment in time is meant to be, action orientated, but passive meditation and that contemplation. You're the story, the reader, and the author all at the same time. You got to be able to look at all three of those. And so I'd been brooding and kind of like mulling over and asking myself, why this and why that, and and why don't I have fucking 11 billion views and everything? And it's because it doesn't matter. Stop being a bitch. It doesn't, and that's kind of the tough love, because that's the edge of the sword. That's the tip of the quill. Is, you can write as eloquently as you want, but not everyone is going to care. Not everyone needs to care. No one has to care. It should be me that cares. So that's dropping into Asia, to Asia, however, different pronunciations is, I was frustrated that I wasn't being truthful with myself. I wasn't taking the time. Something that's come across my feed, my registered in my brain is, because time flies, tempest fugit, the whole thing, and I don't have time. When you word it as, I didn't make myself a priority. I didn't make this a priority. I didn't have time. I didn't make it a priority. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for you. I don't make you a priority. I didn't make me a priority. We didn't make us a priority. When you take that into perspective and you're like, all right, well, when did I stop when did I stop living my life and just start. I know that I'm saying it wrong because I was trying to come at it from a different way, but it's I think the saying is, don't get too busy planning a life that you forget to live it, or don't get too busy, um, you know, trying. That's the basic short of it. I know that I fucked it up, Malafor. But it's like you're so busy trying to plan and make a life that you forget to live it, essentially. And so I had been, I need to force myself into this. I need to do this. I need to do that. And because I was out on a platform where people could see me, doesn't mean that people were seeing me. And I was doing myself a disservice because I wasn't actually like sending things out because I had done things kind of improperly in the beginning. I wasn't able to just keep functioning and keep things up. So I burned myself out again. I did it on social media and I did it in my real life. So that's what this is in the end about is, it's the 3rd of December and I want to say like 23 November. So it's been a few weeks, at least a fortnight that I haven't pulled any cards. It was on December 1st. I started back up. I've continued, going back to the journal that I had been writing them in to begin with, started that back over. But I haven't put anything back out on social media just yet because I am forming things up, and now with these, especially this one with the difference in knowledge that I have, I've been able to find another program. And I've been doing a few personality profilings here and there with this new set, and just seeing how much different it is when not every sign is 30 degrees, and then when we do have that shift of the precession of the equinoxes. So the long and short of it is I invite you to reach out to me. Get your birth time, your birthplace and date, give me your name, and send me an email. I'll give, I'll put in the description below where you can reach me. If you're a vet, reach me on militanttomystic.com, number 2 in there, militant2mystic, at gmail.com, and personalityprofileonline.com, at gmail.com. I'm in the process of getting the websites and things set up, but I do have the email addresses right now, so you can reach me there, and I can give you a video, I can give you a voice message. Just let me know what it is that you're looking for. Tarot, I'll do that on a different beat. I have a little bit more to bring into that. I'm doing a tarot deck myself, and I'm doing a more update, modern astrology sort of take on it. 13 signs, bringing in Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto into what previously was considered the Chaldean order. It started with the slowest moving planet coming to the fastest moving, so they started from Saturn, moved their way up to Mars. But in that instance, I'm starting with Neptune, moving my way, or not Mars, but Mercury. So Neptune or Saturn to Mercury, slowest moving to fastest moving in the Chaldean order. And what I'm doing is starting with Neptune as being the slowest moving full planet registered by 2023 science. Since Pluto has been demoted. But I wanted to throw that in there because Pluto is the edge. Pluto is that last planetoid, that dwarf planet, however you want to look at it, and is the cycle. So it goes Neptune down to Mercury, and then Pluto is like the bedrock. So if you want to think that the foundation is Neptune through Mercury, the bedrock that is based upon the cycles that Hades underworld is Pluto, and I'll get much more into that later, but I'm going to end this now that I am over 50 minutes, less than an hour. Thank you for being here. I'm really interested to hear what anybody has to say about any of this. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm interested to hear your story. Aloha. Blessed be.